was a question that was going around with the kids on the underground forum, which is, who has the best chin in MMA, in the history of MMA? And chin is a little bit of a tough question for me because some guys are just durable and have heart and will just take it. Use Tony Ferguson by example. I don't know that I would concede you that Tony has the world's greatest chin as much as he just wants it so bad. He's just not going to stop no matter what happens. And there's a little bit of a difference. So I'm going to go just on chin. I'm just going to answer the question straightforward, no grain of salt. Okay. Through the history of MMA, I think you have to look at Dan Henderson. Now, I come to you with a little bit more knowledge because I was in the training room with him every single day, but this was a guy that you could just look at his jaw and realize he's got a strong jaw. But I mean, there was ways you could hit him for a meaningful amount of his career. Until he was into his 40s, in all fairness, it just wasn't going to hurt him. You just weren't going to hurt him. You weren't going to change his body language. You weren't going to set him down. You weren't going to end the night. You weren't even going to wobble his legs. He was just one of these guys. Never had great head movement. Dan had issues. I mean, Dan had stuff in his neck. He had issues with his back where he moved really stiff. I mean, he was the kind of guy that you would think you could go out there and outstrike. You just couldn't. You just couldn't. You couldn't hurt him. He was great at burying his chin. Dan would get his chin so low. I'd spar with him and all you'd see is the top of his beady little eyes. He would bury that chin. I mean, he followed the bait, hands up, chin down. If you ever gave him a shot, it just wasn't going to hurt him. Rampage. Rampage is another one of these guys. In his entire career, Vanderlei ×2, Fedor Emelianenko. I don't think anyone else has even sat him down. And before you go, well, Chael, three's kind of a lot. Three might be a lot by some terms, but Rampage has fought 50 men for over 20 years. I've never even seen somebody hurt him, and I've seen him get cracked. Particularly when he moved into heavyweight, he slowed down a little bit. I've seen him get hit hard. Nothing changes. He'll get hit hard, take a step forward. I mean, he's just one of those guys that's just got that chin. Anderson Silva has got to be on that list. Anderson's another one of these guys that has been hit plenty of times. And Anderson, in many regards, it was his fault. He did not like to follow the basics. Within his mechanics, his body mechanics, and within his mannerisms, it was important that he did not have his hands up, his chin down, and he marches forward. He wasn't that guy. He was very fluid. He moved very well. He's one of the few guys that could do a pull, right? You can dip to the left, you can dip to the right, you can duck. The pull is your final level of defense, but only certain body types can do that. You got to have real mobility and flexibility within your back. He had that. He could do a pull with his hands down, his chin up. You'd miss, and he'd come back and fire and put somebody down. Because of that, he was tested clean. A number of times when somebody would connect with him, it was clean because his hands weren't up as a defense. He would take it right on the chin and then keep coming forward. I really think that Anderson Silva, for all the credit he gets, I don't know if anybody's fully recognized what a great chin that guy has. Big Nog's got to be on there. Now, Big Nog, in fairness, is a combination of the two. He had a very good chin. He had a big ass and big hips. He could take and he could absorb. He also had that will. He also had that iron will to win. He will walk through the fire, whatever that means, to try to get his hand raised. So he makes the list, but he's a combo of the two. You got to look at Jon Jones. Jon Jones, while many people will say he's the greatest of all time, I think there's an argument there. Not only because of the asterisks, but also maybe he hasn't proven himself enough. Maybe he has. But I think you have an argument that could be a lot of fun. You could volley it back and forth. And you're only going to have a few guys that are in that list, right? You're going to have John. You're going to have St. Pierre. Some people throw Anderson in there. Some are going to want to throw Fedor in there. Some are going to want to throw Khabib in there. But you're always going to have Jon Jones and St. Pierre on that top list. When you talk about the toughest of all time, not the GOAT, the TOTE, the toughest of all time, I think you'd have a very hard time not laying down and saying it's Jon. The other side of the coin, Jon gets hit a lot. And not just on his chin. We're talking about chin specifically, but not just on the chin. He's had him ripped to the body. He's had his legs blasted like somebody taking a bat to a tree. He walks forward. He doesn't fall down. He doesn't wobble. He doesn't need a second to gain himself. He just marches forward. He's a very tough guy, and I think that his chin is very special. And ultimately, I would also turn to Robbie Lawler. Robbie Lawler is one of these guys that'll get into fisticuffs. He's been in there with some of the hardest hitters in the sport. Melvin Manhoef comes to mind. You guys ever see that fight? Remember that one? I mean, this was a war. He's in a stand-up battle with one of the great kickboxers out there. He's taking some shots. You could hear them through the building. Robbie Lawler didn't give a damn. I mean, he just pushes and marches forward. He also does a very good job with the basics. He does put his chin down. He does put his hands up, which is important. It allows you to take a shot. But when those slip through and he takes one and he eats one, he keeps on fighting. For me, those are the best chins. For the kids on the other ground, there's Chael's opinion.